In 1980, the KMT unlawfully plundered Mount Zion and drove the people of Zion down the mountain. The people of Zion sought legal means and filed an administrative litigation to the Supreme Court. On April 1, 1980, the administrative court ruled in favor of the people of Zion.
We used to live on Mount Zion. The administrative court had already ruled in our favor. But the police appealed against us, so we appealed to a higher court. In both appeals, the court ruled in our favor.
The courts have judged in our favor. We thought we would surely be able to go home and that we wouldn't have to wander anymore.
Little did the innocent people of Zion know that the KMT had just begun to persecute them. On December 13th that same year, a nationwide census was carried throughout Taiwan. The government instructed, everyone go back to his family and domicile to receive the census. In response to this, the three families of Tan and Liu, whose registered residences were at Mount Zion, tried to go home for the census. However, the Shaolin police checkpoint blocked them, saying that the authorities had not permitted them to return to Zion. The checkpoint police openly defied the administrative court's written judgment, which had ruled in favor of the people of Zion.
At the checkpoint, the police refused us entry. We had the written judgment from the administrative court stating that we had won the case, and that the Kaohsiung County Police Department had lost. Why can't we go home? The police said, we have not received any order to let you return home.
It was getting dark, and the people of Zion could not return to their home, so they slept out at Shaolin Street.
Where shall we go from here? I asked them. Could you please let us stay at the old dormitory behind the police department? No, they replied. But you may go to the riverbed and build a simple shed for shelter.
Seeing this, they took verbal permission from the police to camp temporarily at the Nancy Stream while waiting to return to Zion. At the Shaolin riverbed, the people of Zion put up tents with bamboo sticks and black tarp for shelter. The Shaolin riverbed was a sandbar in the middle of the Nancy River. It was scorching hot during the day and bitter cold at night. It was a humid, low-lying area where poisonous snakes and insects prowled around. When it rained, the river turned murky, so it couldn't provide safe drinking water. The occasional flash floods from the upstream also caused deluge. The sandbar was not a place for people to live.
The Shaolin riverbed is not fit for men to live in. It's so hot during the day. Snakes come out at night.
In the middle of the night, something was crawling over my legs. It crawled and crawled all the way up to here. I tried to squash it, but I missed. I got up to light a lamp and looked for it. There it was under a chair. A banded crate, Viper, was sitting there, coiled up.
At the riverbed, we saw snakes all over the place. We lived in danger. At that time, God gave us a strong determination to return to Zion despite the persecution. We believed that everything would be fine after returning to Zion.
Mount Zion is the sweet homeland which God gave to the people of Zion. For more than a decade, they lived and worked there. Sweet memories of the good old days in Zion lingered in their minds. Had the KMT not plundered Mount Zion and stopped the people of Zion from returning home, who in their right mind would live in the Shaolin riverbed? During those days, the people of Zion experienced a total of 8 flash floods. Nevertheless, the difficult and dangerous environment did not intimidate them. In that predicament, the prophet had full faith and hope in the God of Zion. When the flood waters closed in on the wandering people of Zion, the heartless KMT did not come to lend a helping hand. Instead, they stood on the suspension bridge, watching and videotaping them in the deluge. At such a time, the prophet led God's children to sing praises to the God of Zion. How profound was their faith in God! This scene is the pride and glory of the New Testament Church. On July 30th, 1982, when the people of Zion were eating dinner, torrents of water from the mountain carrying mud and stone began to close in on them. In less than 15 minutes, the water level rose up to their chest. The prophet did not run for his life. Instead, he moved slowly into the raging floods, raised his hands, and commanded the water to recede. After the prayer, the floodwaters began to subside. By daybreak, the sandbar had emerged. Having experienced God's faithfulness and mighty power, the survivors sang and danced hand in hand in circles, rendering praises to God who had saved them. The God of the New Testament Church, the God of Elijah Hong, and the great King of Zion is the Almighty One who sits as King upon the floods. Seeing that the 8 flash floods did not wash away the sandbar, the KMT built a dike upstream to direct the floodwaters towards the tents of the people of Zion, with the intent of drowning them. However, God protected the people of Zion. After the dike was built, there were no more flash floods. The KMT and their evil plots were put to shame. During those days of wandering, the people of Zion were homesick, so God moved the prophet to take his children to gaze at Zion. They crossed over rugged mountains and climbed up dangerous cliffs. They took this long 8-hour journey to and fro just to take a glimpse of Zion, their home. Gazing at their home through binoculars, the people of Zion sing songs in remembrance of Zion.
Days, months, and years had gone by, but we still couldn't return home. Then the Lord's servant led us to a mountain near the Shaoling riverbed to gaze at Zion. Through the binoculars, we longingly fixed our eyes on her, adoring her every angle. We felt so good to see our beloved home. As we looked at Zion, our hearts flew to her and tears rolled down our cheeks. At the thought of Zion, we would cry. How do I describe our feelings? It's like a son sold to a foreign land. The father is at home, but the son can't be with him. This was how we felt. I often said, "O Lord Jesus, please take us home."
How they wished their wandering would soon end so that they could return to Zion. The prophet led the congregation to cry out to the God of Zion. In such faith, the people of Zion continued to strive towards Zion under the leadership of the prophet of all nations.